Hello, everybody. My name is Adonis, and here is the long-awaited story. My situation, why I do what I do, and the reason why I do it the way that I do. All right, so here you go. At the age of 18, I was stabbed by my father. He stabbed me right here. The knife was long enough where it almost came out my back. It punctured my liver and my kidney. And my diaphragm, the thing you use to breathe, expand. Um, then took the same knife and tried to stuck it right here. Also moved it back and forth, tried to cut my throat. So you may be thinking like, wow, how'd you get to this point? I'm going to get into all that. So I told you, hope I got your attention now. This is serious. Things about to get real. So here's the deal. Back when I was young, I had this light about me, this bright light about me. And so everybody was really drawn to me. I really didn't have a shortage of friends when I was growing up. Not at all, really. Um, and I see um, the beauty and the lightheartedness in every situation. I was like, I was a really happy kid. And I guess from an early age, I began to see there was a little bit of problems between me and my dad. I would say maybe the age of maybe 6 or 7 or so. My father has somewhat jealousy issues, so of the attention that I was receiving. So there's that. But it was nothing. I can remember uh, being called like a pussy, soft, a punk, and I'm talking about like you're like 7, 8, 9 years old. Um, that's just the way things were in my house at the time. And we're talking back in the day, so I may be dating myself a bit, but we're talking like back in the '80s. So that kind of thing was going on. It was kind of common actually. So along with that though, um, I was able to see, I guess what you call them now. You call them shadow people. That was quite often. You know what I mean? Like I said, I didn't. It was kind of funny because on the outside, I didn't have any problem making friends, but I was still kind of lonely. And I used to see these like little shadowy figures in the corner, and it was just, it was just common. I mean, I didn't feel afraid or anything. It was just they were there. I noticed them, and you know, we moved a lot too. So it was like it wasn't just in one location. It was like at almost every house that we lived at. Um, you know, I would see these little shadowy figures, and pretty much no harm, no foul. Didn't really bother me much at all. It wasn't until um, we moved to this particular house. I'm from Philly, so Philadelphia originally. So it wasn't until we moved into this house in Philadelphia. It was I used to live in a place called Alany, um, and there's like it was pretty rough back then. Certain parts of Alany, it was like between Alany and Logan. If you guys Googled it, looked it up or whatever, you see what I'm talking about. But it's a pretty rough area. It was rough back then. It's even worse now. But um, it was this house, and when I tell you that this house was evil, I mean, I kid you not. This is not hyperbole. That house was genuinely fucking evil. And I don't know if the house drew in my father or my father was drawn to the house, but I just knew right from the start that it was um it was bad because everybody's in the house's personality kind of changed. Um, also around this time. Now, the reason why things are kind of like complicated to a certain extent to some people is because there were a lot of changes taking place at that time too in society culturally. So, for example, my mom went back into the workforce. I mean, she kind of had like little side jobs, but she actually got a career um, in the 80s. So she kind of went back to work, and that kind of bothered my father um, a lot. You know, he was used to being like the man of the house and being a breadwinner, but things kind of started to shift a little bit. So there was that. And that you could kind of feel the dynamics in the house kind of begin to shift a little bit. But with that being said, um, you know, it was almost as if being there, the air was heavy. I mean, the air was like extraordinarily heavy there. And it was, you know, before, Pop used to like grip me up or something, just regular punishment shit, But when we got there, things went from bad to worse. And so, I was aware that the dynamics with the dynamic. I was aware enough to know that the dynamics of the house had shifted, and that's why that was kind of irritating my dad. But um, I knew things had. I was just okay. So things changed. I kind of became aware of what was going on. Maybe trying to rationalize. I'm a kid. I'm moving to a new house. There's new corners of the house to explore. Weird sounds and shit like that. This is common. So I was trying to rationalize that. But I knew that in the basement, it's always the basement. It's always the basement. In the basement, you went down some stairs. You went to the basement. So it was one day my parents were out. And my two brothers, there was no one home but me. So I knew that I kind of avoided going into the basement at all costs. But this particular time, I was just like, well, I got clothes in the dryer. I got to go get my clothes. And so there's a back room. There's like stairs, a washroom. Then there's an open space. Then there's a space that's all the way at the back. And that's where the evil, the vibe really was palpating from the back. And so, and the door was always closed, because that's like the storage area. There was never nothing in there. It was a storage area. Well, of course, there was just like books and shit in there, so nobody ever really went in there. So I went down to the basement. And so you come down the stairs, and I looked directly in the back, and I went to the washroom. I was like, what the fuck? Literally, the door was wide open, and there was somebody back there. There was a dark, a huge diesel, all black, bald figure back there. And I remember I was like 12 years old. And I remember trying to process, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, wait a minute. Mom's not here. Pop's not here. Definitely not, neither one of my brothers. Who the fuck is it? Who is that? As a matter of fact, not just who is that, what is that? And this is all was taking place like a series of seconds. I'm processing this in my head. So I'm thinking like, wait a minute. Maybe I'm seeing things. So I pop my head out and I kind of peek out the washroom. Sure enough, doors open. And not only is this thing sitting there, it smiled. And I mean, when it smiled, we're talking about, again, guys, this was like, back in the day. So there was nothing that could really, gen my imagination, a movie I would have seen or something like that. There was no YouTube and none of that shit. So this thing smile went from here to here. And it stood up. And I kid you not. You have never experienced true terror until you see something that absolutely. When people say something like a deer in headlights, um, and fight or flight kicked in. I mean, there was absolutely no fight to be had. It was straight flight. Like I'm getting the hell up out of here. I was backing up. I backed up against the door, the back door, and I got my hands behind my back and I'm locking it. I literally fell out the back door because this thing's beginning to come towards me, and I mean this thing is fucking huge and it's tall, and the fear and the smell of straight sulfur, straight rotten eggs. I mean, it was powerful. And at that point, I just knew like, yo, this is. I'm honestly, I don't even. I really was having a hard time processing what I had just witnessed. To be honest with you, so I fall out the door. I slam the door behind me, and I ran out the yard, over the fence, down the alley, and I just waited for my family to get home. Now I wasn't supposed to be outside until somebody got home, but of course I got ripped up and everything. But like that was an ass whooping I was just gonna have to take because that what I witnessed. I mean that, and I kind of tried to explain what I had saw, but it was just straight out like get the hell out of here. Just shut up, Very, very easily dismissed because, my parents were like, y'all come home from working all day, and I gotta come home to this bullshit. So it was one of them type of vibes. It was like very hardcore real shit in that house. And so right around that time, so needless to say, I slept with the light on all the time. And actually I made sure I was never in the house by myself. This was for a month's time. It's funny when you're a kid, you learn how to just something dramatic will happen and you'll just kind of like learn how to live around it, And so I'm like, okay, I got a demon in the basement, but I got to get ready to go to school. I mean, it was like one of them type of things. Like, okay, this is the new normal now. So I just made sure like I was never at nighttime. I mean, I was always make sure I was always upstairs with the light on. I had a flashlight under my pillow just in case. I mean, it was one of those deals, right? And so this went on for about a month. But then I noticed a noticeable change in my dad. Like the shit with him went from bad to worse. Like then he started to become like massively angry, like really, really angry. And like I said before about being disciplined, getting smacked here, gripped up there, that was just the way things work. But I mean, this cat went from doing that to full-fledged, just sucker punching the shit out of me, like knocking me across the room, slamming me up against the wall, busting my lip and my nose. I don't know how many times at that point. I mean, it just went from bad to fucking horrific real fast. And I guess in my mind, maybe I was kind of knew there was a correlation between what I had saw and what was going on with him. But I mean, who the hell was going to listen to me? So, and that's a theme throughout this whole thing. So the day the shit really hit the fan was when my mom kind of like she was out on the weekend. She was out on the weekend trip for work, and so because she was a buyer for the Navy, so she had some kind of seminar or something like that. So this is when shit got real. All right. If it wasn't already. So, I got up and I noticed right away that he was licking up. Like it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. He was licking up, and his eyes were bloodshot red. He was just like, and actually when I got up and I walked towards the room, it was like he had the lights on, but it was dark as shit in there. Like you could barely see him, like a cloud. And so, like a dark hazy fog. And so it was like menacing. It was menacing. It was a Saturday. I remember that for sure. You know, because the cartoons were on, my brothers were downstairs, whatever. So, because the reason I was first there in the first place is because he called me in there for something, and I was like, what the, you know. So I go there, and he says, yeah, your aunt wants you to drop these keys off. Now I think there was some kind of storm happening at that time, some kind of hurricane or something like that was had breezed past Philadelphia or something like that, and so I forget the date, but I know it's like the mid '80s or something like that. And I had made the comment. I was like, well, can I wait till the rain lets up a little bit? Because there were like tree branches and shit everywhere on the street. It was still raining hard as fuck. Because he wanted me to go out there like right then and there. And I was just like, yo, you know, they were telling people like, I think like, you know, the windy conditions and, you know, don't be outside if you don't have to be. And he wants me to take the keys all the way up the street to my aunt's house. It was like 2 blocks away. And I was just like, well, you know, can I wait till it lets up a little bit? And he flew into a fucking rage. I mean, he gets up and just sucker punched me. Just straight up, just sucker punched the shit out of me. Like, he moved quick too. He just on the bed there. He got up, came across, and just sucker punched me. Hit my head against the wall. I'm on the ground. He starts stomping me. I mean, I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, you know, start stomping me, and then he kneels down and he sucker punches me again. I'm seeing stars. I think at one point I almost blacked out, and so all I remember is this dude's alcoholic breath all up in my face, you know, spitting and shit. And all I remember is the taste of blood. I'm wiping blood from my face. And he's like, you're gonna do what I say when I say do it, period. He'll take your ass out there. You know, I don't give a shit if you get struck by lightning. Who gives a shit? I mean, it was just like all kinds of crazy shit. I'm paraphrasing here because, you know, I can swear with the best of them, but my father could curse unparalleled. I mean, he was just giving me the business. And the whole time he's doing this, he's gripping me, throwing me around and shit like a fucking rag doll. So I'm in a hallway, so I kind of put my hands up to defend myself. He hits me. We have stairs to go upstairs. He knocked me over the banister. I think there were like 12 steps or whatever. I fell, bang. I fell over the banister, fell like down, you know, flipped over, fell right in the middle of the stairway. I literally flipped over backwards. All right. He wasn't concerned if I was okay or whatever. He was just like, matter of fact, he took the keys and he threw them down to me. And he was like, yeah, you take these keys and you go to your aunt's house. And it became apparent to me like, yo, this dude's trying to fucking kill me. You know? And so at that point, I'm all bloody. I was like, I mean, I guess at that point, maybe I got courage, maybe I was just stupid. But I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. You're crazy. And so then, you know, he came down the steps after me and started gripping me up. And, you know, we were tussling a little bit. And this dude's throwing me around like a rag doll. At that point, my 2 little brothers were coming out. Started coming out the bedroom or whatever. They're younger than I am because I'm the oldest. And, you know, it was literally, so he grabbed me again, he throws me up the steps, so then he starts punching me, kicking me up the steps, so I'm backing up. Because I'm thinking like, man, I bore more from more than I could chew with this thing. This dude grips me up and just slams me through their bedroom door. They're just standing there in shock watching, and he's choking me on the bed. So at this point, basically I was just all battered, bloody. At some point even take a metal ladder and he fucking took it and he jabbed it in my head. So to make a long story short, okay, just to make a long story short, um, the dude ended up ripping the phone off the wall, chucking it at me, um, jabbing me with a metal ladder, knocking me over the banister. So I had a concussion. I had 3 bruised ribs. So I ended up going to the hospital because at that point, I managed to make it to the door, to the front door, and I pretty much I got out of there. And during that time in that neighborhood, people just pretty much minded their business. It was just one of them type of things. Plus, it was storming. It was rainy anyway, so I don't know if anybody, even if I'm saying even if someone did see something, I'm not even sure they would have done anything, to be honest with you. And that's also another theme too that's going to be throughout the situation. So let me kind of fast forward here a little bit. So that's the bottom line. I was pretty abused. And so I went to go live with my grandmother. So basically there was this court thing there. So fast forward here, Department of Health and Human Services, of course my dad's story is completely different scenario situation. So the judge pretty much asks me, well, where do you want to live? You're old enough. At the time I was, I think a couple months had passed. I just turned 13. And he was like, well, so what do you want to do? Where do you want to live? And in the back of my mind, 2 things were I was contemplating. One, there's something in the basement. There's something in that house. And I knew I had enough sense not to be like, hey, judge, it was just, there was something in the house. That's number 1. Number 2, I knew it was affecting my dad. Like, he was already kind of miserable, but this was like on steroids type of shit. And I knew that it was focused in on me. And so I was like, I want to live with my grandmother. My mom was sitting right there. She completely broke her, which was going to end up being an issue later on. And I'll get to that later on. So, completely broke her. She gets up, she leaves the court, the judge's chambers rather. And so, my dad just kind of smirks, gets up, walks out. So, presumably after my mom, the only thing I did, I felt guilty about leaving my brothers in that situation. I felt really bad about it because I'm like, now that I'm gone, who's going to watch out for them? But I mean, I guess my thoughts were, well, maybe I could always come back and do something about the situation. So things pretty much progressed pretty quickly after that, because then we get to the part where so I'm going back to school. The school I went to, it was called Fells Junior High. I don't mind mentioning it because it don't exist no more. That when I talk about a bad school, you guys, if you look at how schools were back in the 70s and 80s and shit like that, fights in the hallway, teachers not giving a shit, that's exactly how it was. It was something right out of a fucking movie. And I was a little scrawny ass kid, so I went back to school. I'm all fucked up from the whole family situation. So it was a junior high school. So at the time I was in 7th grade. And so there was this kid named Tate. So this is when things get even realer. So there was this kid named Tate. Pretty popular guy. Actually should have been in 10th grade, but he's one of them type, he failed, I guess, once or twice. So he was still there. I guess he was a resident student, I guess you could say. And you know, he was a drug dealer. You know, everybody knew it. I suspect even the teachers knew it because everybody else knew it. So he was like, "Hey, listen, um, I want to use. Can I use your locker?" And so, you know, me being kind of naive and kind of wanted to fit in with the big kids and that type of thing, because you know, at that point, like I said, I didn't never really had any problems making friends, but I was never really with the in crowd. So he was like, "Hey man, listen, I'll pay you $20. I'll pay you $20 a week to use your locker, man. You know, you can still use your locker, stuff like that. I'm just gonna put things in there from time to time, and you know, you just ignore, you just keep on going on about your day. It's no big deal." And so, did I know it was bad? Yeah, I knew it was wrong. Um, but in that school, I mean, you know, you pretty much, I guess I was the way I was looking at it was like I was lucky he was even offering me any money. He could have just been like, "Yo, I'm gonna use your locker," and there would have been pretty much nothing I could do about it at that point, because you know it was just like that type of place. Um, and so I was like, "Okay, cool." He was like, "Hey, you know what? But you get to hang out with me. Nobody will mess with you. You can have yourself a girlfriend. Everything's gonna work out. Everything's gonna work out. Cool, cool, no problem." So, um, you can see where this is going. So the bottom line is, so we're hanging out one day. You know, I'm hanging out with him at the bus stop, a bunch of kids, a bunch of his friends. He's hot shit, so nobody messes with him. Um, and I'm his little buddy, you know. And I guess I kind of saw people kind of, you know, gritting on me and shit like that. But I was just like, hey, you know, Tate's here, I'll be all right, you know. He had some real fucking enemies, put it to you like that. So a car pulls up. You know, he's doing a deal. He's like, hey, you want to come? He asked me to come with him. But I don't know. I mean, something told me like, yo, don't get in the car with this dude because, you know, you don't know what's going to go on with this. So I didn't get in the car. I said, I'll just stay at the bus stop. I'll be cool because I'm like, it's out in the open, this and that. So I know you're thinking like, wow, at this point you decide to use some common sense. I'm 13 people. Okay. So I'm at the bus stop. And for some reason, you know, I had a girlfriend. She was hot. She was hot. She was good. She was a good looking girl. And I'm like, okay, I'm a man. I'm cool. I got friends. I got some cash in my pocket. I'm doing great. You know, my family situation was all fucked up, but at least I got this. Um, and I had asked this guy. I was like, hey, you know, you mind if I borrow a token, man? You know, this and that. I turn around. Next thing I know, I'm seeing stars. This dude has hit me. My head has bounced off of the mailbox, and I'm being uppercutted. And I'm on the ground. And I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? Um, and so the girl I was with was like, she got between me and the guy. She said, listen, you better leave before this gets worse for you. They don't like you. And Tate's not here to protect you, so you need to leave right now. And so I'm like, and the dude swings at me again and connects. And I mean, this dude was big as shit. Um, he literally hit me. He kind of lifted me up off the ground. I mean, so he was you know, again, I was in 7th grade. This dude should have been in probably 10th or 11th grade himself. So I was like, all right, cool. So I get the hell up out of there. So I got the big ass knot on my head. Once again, face full of blood, nose all fucked up. So I'm so, you know, I call my grandmother. She gives me hell. I came on back to the house. And at that point, I think that something inside of me just kind of clicked. A switch was flipped because, you know, from the shit in the basement of my parents' house, my dad literally damn near beat me to death. Me damn near being at the bus stop, damn near getting knocked out. It something in me just flipped, and I was just like, this is not gonna happen again. I'm done with this shit. I'm done with it. Um, So I did what any 13-year-old kid does. I went and I grabbed a steak knife and put it in my clothes because I was going to. The dude's name was Troy. I was going to teach Troy a lesson. I was going to get back at Troy. I mean, I was just like, this is long before any kind of crazy school shootings and all that shit. I mean, this was, again, we're talking back in the 80s. So I got a steak knife and I kind of plotted it all out in my head. So I thought. So lunchtime comes, not lunchtime, it's early in the morning. I get up. I'm waiting for him to come there. I see him coming in the lunchroom. That's where everybody gathered. Before the bell rung or whatever, I pull the fire alarm. He's out there coming in the hallway. I take the knife and I rake it across his face. So I cut his face. He's like, blood's everywhere. And the fact of the matter is, at least I had enough common sense to put on a hoodie to somewhat obstruct my face somewhat. Did have, I guess, a monocle of sense. So there was that, and after everything had calmed down, he's being rushed off to the nurse. The NTAs are coming out grabbing him, asking him what happened. So instantly, I feel sick. Like I want to throw up. I'm feeling sick because of what happened. I'm scared. I'm scared to death. I go to the nurse. Okay, so when you got the hoodie, I had somehow I put the knife in my hoodie or whatever. I go to the nurse, go to her office. Somehow it ends up falling out onto the bed, onto the cot. So I feel better. I get up and I leave. So I guess it's towards like damn near the middle school day. Someone comes in and says, the teacher says, "Oh, the principal wants to see you." Now, I'm like, why would the principal want to see me? Well, I'm checking myself. I guess all of a sudden it dawned on me. I'm thinking, oh shit, the knife's gone. I get to his office, and I told you I have no poker face. He says, I see you familiar with this item, because I kind of looked at it like, oh. And he says, oh, don't worry. The cops have been called. You might as well just make yourself comfortable and have a seat. It's like, oh. And he's sitting back, and he has a smile on his face, and then he says something like, you really thought you were going to get away with it, don't you? You really thought you were really going to get away with it. And so here I'm thinking, yeah. I was like, wow, you got me. I'm like, I was like, yeah, but I'm trying to tell him, like, hey, but he did this to me. He's like, he said, yeah, but what are you talking about? That's no reason to deal drugs in school. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is he talking? I'm thinking, what is he talking about? Well, they took it upon themselves to look in the locker. I mean, cut the locker or whatever when they saw the knife in the cot. They didn't even. I mean, later the connection was made to me cutting Troy, but not at that point. For some reason, he found the knife, and I guess they took carte blanche to go check my locker and got a locker full of dope. So I'm this high pro. Well, in this school, I'm a high profile drug dealer. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. I get taken out of school in handcuffs, put into a paddy wagon, and I see Tate kind of sitting there with his hands over his face, kind of like doing one of these numbers. And I was just like, I was just hand behind my back. I was just kind of shook my head like, I'm not gonna rat you out, dude. Like, it was so all of that had kind of taken place within 6 months period of time. I ended up getting sent to what they call the youth study center. I mean, for bad kids, for really bad kids. So I go there. I'm gonna speed things up a bit. I go there, and you know, I learned all the fine arts of how to fight, how to defend myself. Big time. You had to fight over chocolate milk, so I pretty much got a PhD in that department. So I come out 6 months later, I'm a completely different person. At this point, I'm pissed, I'm angry all the time, I'm mad. I have an anger problem, I have a fighting problem. So all the things the principal thought I was, as far as attitude-wise went, that's kind of like what I become. Locking kids up doesn't make them better people; it makes them worse people. And I became one of those people. Um, and so I got expelled, obviously, from Fells. Um, but I ended up going to the Catholic school, and my grandmother kind of maneuvered to get me in there. And I was truly a trouble kid. Um, I wouldn't allow people to sit at my lunch table, if you can even imagine such a thing. Um, I didn't allow people to touch me. I just, I was mad at everybody. I would fight anybody. I would fight kids. I would fight adults. Um, I hated everybody. I literally hated everybody. And so this went on for like a good month or so. And then until there was this one nun, this little short white nun. The reason why her ethnicity is important because my grandmother lived in North Philly. North Philly is all black for the most part. And the reason why she stood out is because, this girl, this lady has some chutzpah. I mean, she has some guts to approach things the way she did. Because a lot of, especially with me. And one day, she called me into her office. And she said, you're a pretty tough kid. You've been through a lot. But, she said a bunch of other stuff. I really don't recall. But the one thing that she did say that got through, she said that, I really do give a shit about you. And that got me. First of all, I never heard a nun curse. That was one thing, but the way she said it, and she put her hand on my shoulder when she said it and looked me dead in my eye, like I knew she meant it. And I was just like, damn, like, wow. And all of a sudden, it was like this fog had been lifted. And I mean, it wasn't. It was damn near instantaneous, actually, to be honest with you. I mean, to me, it seemed like it took a while, but it was actually a pretty short span of time. It was like a fog had been lifted, and all of us, and I was never a really good student at all, but I kind of started to actually study because I was like, well, I didn't want to disappoint her, because she took the time out to put her neck out there for me. And so I started studying. And I started getting like A's. Like literally, I went from a D student at best to like getting like straight A's. Because I just started kind of giving a shit. I just started caring. It's right around this time that I found out that my aunt was into tarot. This is when the esoteric aspect of things come in. So she was into tarot. So I'm kind of, as I'm beginning to become more of a human being again, certain things start coming to light, like the fact that my aunt was like heavily into church. Actually, my aunt was considered a witch, and there were other people in my family that were also witches. And so on my father's side, and I was just like, what? So I started hearing all kinds of stories about things that had happened and things that they summoned up and things like that, but they were supposedly white witches or whatever. And so then I kind of start somewhat putting two and two together a little bit. Um, Thinking, I wonder if that has anything to do with what's going on in my basement. But then I was thinking, nah, that's kind of a stretch, because, um, we just kind of moved there. So, but it was kind of always in the back of my mind. So, I started kind of dibbling and dabbling a little bit, like learning different things. And as I'm learning different things simultaneously, my grade, I'm just like, I'm getting like second honors, ran for student council, became student council vice president, and I'm just getting accolades, first honors all over the damn place at this point. I in the span of a year and a half, I got an academic scholarship for college in the in the eighth grade. And also what happened was I got a scholarship, so an academic scholarship. So there was this all boys school. It's a prestigious Catholic school in Philadelphia called Roman Catholic High School. So I got a full ride to Roman, and I got $50,000 a year for any college of my choice. And if it just happened to be an Ivy League, they would give me more money. So in other words, I got a benefactor. And so my life took a complete 180. Like everything was different. And I was a different person. You know what I'm saying? Like I had pretty much came through all that shit and ended up being a decent person, having a future, getting opportunities, got a good job after school. I mean, everything was popping. Everything was working well. And then my grandmother got sick. And as fate would have it, I had to end up going back home to my family. And that's when I said, remember I said about my mom being broken? When I went back to that house, I hadn't been back there in like literally a year and a half. And things went from bad to worse. At this point, my dad was full psycho mode, full 100% psycho. Just like I wasn't even the same man anymore. My mom was completely withdrawn. My brothers were different. The energy in that place was massively different. It smelled different. Everything was just different. It was darker. It was thicker. It was heavier. And I'm like, okay, oh shit. And things almost immediately. I wasn't even there a week before shit got bad, like real bad. My dad right away picked up to, at this point he wasn't even pretending like he was even trying to like me. You know what I mean? We were trying to get along. He would just, he just come at me. He would just swing at me. Literally, I was coming in the doorway. He was coming in the doorway, and so basically, he just basically headbutted me and said, when a grown man's walking, stay out of his way. At this point, though, I'm a little older. Okay, I'm a lot more harder at this point, so I start fighting back, and so, not trying to be disrespectful because again, my intellect was popping at that point. So I was just like, you know what? the best thing for me to do is keep my head down and get the hell up out of here before this dude kills me. And so that kind of worked for like a good 6 months or so. But then it just got to the point where, and also with my job, and stuff like that, I was able to stay out the house most of the time. Again, my school is in Center City, Philadelphia, so I was able to stay out most of the time, and I was able to do this. And actually, it was longer than 6 months. Maybe for about a year or so, I was able to do that. And then I had to find other things to do. So so I can not be at home even more, because even the mere presence of me being in this house was a problem. So there was a show called Dance Party USA. Used to come on television. And it was this guy in my school named Chris Teller. Dude could dance his ass off. And so he asked me if I could dance. I'm like, yeah, of course I could dance. I can dance. So we end up going to Philly 57 at the time. And I see all of these TV cameras and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm thinking I'm just going to be like, I didn't know what I thought, really. I didn't think it was going to be on television. But apparently he was like a big deal. And basically how we met is that he was being bullied in Roman. And I stepped in, helped him out. And so, as a thanks, he brought me on the show. And so I'm thinking, like, and this kid got fan mail. He got like 2 Army duffel bags full of fan mail. That's how popular this guy was. And so I'm on there like, what the hell? I'm meeting like somebody named Princess, Andy, Gary, Solomon, Baby Heather, Rennie Harris. All of these people. I met like Bobby Brown was on there, Expose was on there, Samantha Fox was on there. I'm meeting all of these celebrities. Way celebrities than me. They were like pop artists at the time. So I would just go there after school, and I started becoming somewhat. I'm starting getting a little bit of fan mail myself. So things were really beginning to turn around. I'm in this prestigious all-boys school, prep school. I'm on television. Things is popping. Things is working out nice. And then it just like it got kicked to another gear, another level. Another level was kicked again. And all of a sudden, my father's jealousy just went off the charts crazy. It kind of around the time that the show was kind of starting to end, because Club MTV came out, and so nothing's gonna trump Club MTV. Dance Party USA kind of took a back step to that. Once MTV really started doing the whole reality show thing, it just kind of fizzled on out, and that was just the end of that. And that's when things kind of really got bad for me. Basically, one day in particular, I was doing homework for school, and it was right before dance party was going to end. So I was like, hey, listen. He said, hey, listen, I want you to watch Your Brothers, blah, blah, blah. Hey, cool, no problem. I said, no problem. I said, I'll be back at, so what time you need me here? He says, well, I need you here. He said, what do you mean? He said, hey, me and your mother going out at 7 o'clock. I said, cool, I'll be back by 4. For some reason, that irritated him. He kicked the radio right in front of my head, transistors and everything, every fucking where. I stood up. He sucker punched me. I said, listen, you hit me again, I'm going to have to hit you back. He hit me again. I hit him back. It was a big, ugly, nasty thing. And at this point, we kicking into the 3rd gear. Okay? Getting a little long here. There's a whole lot more to go. So I'm going to kind of wrap this particular part up. Literally, the lights dimmed in the house. The lights dimmed in the house. It became cold. And I actually saw that the fighting that was happening was actively affecting the atmosphere of the house. I was just kind of stunned, like, holy shit, like this is real. This is really, really happening. And it seemed like I'm really pretty much the only one that kind of knew what was going on. No one else kind of saw it. Nobody else kind of felt it. Um, so I had to end up leaving because things just it got to the point where my dad just get out. I said, okay, cool, fine. I just left. I just left the house. I said, fine, I'll just live with some friends. Cool. I just like I just knew I wanted to get the hell out of there. And so what he did was he began to stalk me. I digress. One thing that did happen in St. Columbus, the school that I went to, there were times where I felt as though there was some kind of presence, an evil presence that didn't mean me any good. Especially when I started to come out the funk once I met Sister Mary. There were these periods of time, and it was all like systematic for like 2 months, 3 months. This happened. Well, I come to find out that he was coming up there. He found out I went to the school, and he was coming up there to the school, saying to them, "Hey, listen, he's a bad guy. He cut some kid's face. He's a no good person. You shouldn't have him in your school. He doesn't have the same type of morals and values, that type of shit." He was trying to get me taken out of the Catholic school. The reason why I say this is because, fast forward, he went to my job. Pretty much said the same thing. He's not a good kid, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't let him here, this, that, and the other. And pretty much, people pretty much knew I was a pretty cool guy. Didn't give anybody a problem. But my boss told me, listen, I gotta let you go. Because he came there. And he threatened him, if you bring him back here again, I'm going to cause trouble for your business. It was an apothecary across the street from the school. So I'm going to cause trouble for your business. And so he's like, listen, you're a good kid, but I got to let you go. So he stopped my money flow coming in. That's number one. Number two, it started getting to the point where he, like the friends at the house I was staying at, he would go to their parents' house. He was going to their house. Just tell them you shouldn't let him stay here. He's a bad influence. He's a this, he's a that. And so he was kind of cutting off all of the places that I could go. Basically trying to get me to come back home so that he could have free reign to pretty much torture me if he wanted to. But I kind of got hip to the situation, especially because he told some kind of lie to my family after me and him had another encounter out in the street. And I had my uncles looking for me with him, with armed with guns, looking for me. He had spun some kind of tale. I rolled him out or jumped him or some shit like that. So he was really becoming kind of psychotic. The dude really wanted to kill me, and that was pretty much evident, pretty clear. It even became clear to people around me at that point, like, listen, dude, like, we don't want no trouble with you, but we just, we don't want you here because your father, either people were scared of him or they believed him. So it was one of those type of things. So at some point, because I had no more, I had nowhere else to stay, I went to the church, of course. I went to the school. And even I'll leave his name. I'm not going to mention his name, but a particular priest. We're friends. I mean, we're friends now, but at the time, and he kind of tried to help, but he was told not to because, again, it was a prestigious boys' school. I mean, I had people in my classroom that, their fathers and mothers were like congressmen and senators and stuff like that. So that just wasn't gonna fly. This type of issue, domestic issue, was out of their wheelhouse of expertise. They kind of really didn't want to get involved. It was a lot of politics involved, and especially because I had an academic scholarship from one of the benefactors that was on the board of trustees and stuff like that. So it was a lot of politics involved, and you know, at the time I didn't understand why nobody from there wanted to help, but it was pretty much even he kind of backed off. He was like, well, listen, you know, and so I was kind of like left alone to deal with the situation on my own. So I just had to make a decision like, you know what? I need money to live. I need to live because I can't live out here like this anymore. No one's willing to help me. Nobody wants to get involved. And so right before I was really trying to figure out what I was going to do, because at this point I was living in an abandoned house, you know, washing up, and there's nothing like trying to wash up in the wintertime in an abandoned house with cold water. I mean, I had been reduced to that, and I'm still trying to go to school, trying to still get my hustle on, so I get myself together. So what ended up happening was it just became unattainable. And I just was like, listen, at this point, I'm like eating like onion rings and dipsy doodles for sustenance, for food. You know what I mean? And kind of like hanging over people's houses until they either fed me or kind of like told me it was time to leave and shit like that. So I you know, it kind of got like that. It got like that. At some point, my friend, well, he was again another drug dealer. We became pretty cool because he saw what was going on. He was like, listen, man, you know, you're a pretty smart kid, blah blah blah. You can stay with me at my spot, but you got to work. And so I knew what that meant, and so I kind of tried to avoid that for at least at least the next 2 months. And it was just like, listen, I just got to do it. I got. Now the kind of crazy thing about them, he lived with his mom. So he's a drug dealer living with his mom, and it was a whole other thing. But the bottom line was I was just about to say, okay, you know, because at this point I'm kind of living in his closet, and I'm living under his bed, and I'm still trying to go to school. So I was coming from my girlfriend's house at the time, and I was telling her what was going on. She was just like, well, you know, you got to do something, because you know, at this point my grades were starting to be affected. I was still getting an A here and there, but I was starting to slip to like a B, a C, and you know, again, this was a prestigious school, so you know your grades start slipping like that. So I had to make the decision on what I was going. If I was going to, I mean, when I say make a decision, I mean make a decision to drop out or not, and just kind of work for this guy to get some money together to get the hell out the neighborhood. But right before I was about to make that decision, again, things clicked into another gear, and it was this girl I had never seen in my life. I never seen. Well, okay, I saw her once before, but I never really said two words to this person. So she says to me as I'm coming back from her girlfriend's house, she says, you know, she says, you need to be careful because your father is around the corner, and he's at Eddie's house. That's what I was saying, Eddie's house. He's saying a lot of crazy shit. He's acting really crazy. You really may want to be careful. So that was like my guardian angel moment trying to warn me not to go there. But of course, at this point, I'm angry. You know, again, I'm trying to do the right thing. I got a scholarship here. I'm trying to maintain this. Nobody wants to get involved. I feel like I'm in a fucking movie. And I was just like, you know, I was out of the house. I was doing my own thing. And this dude still wouldn't leave me the fuck alone. So I got around there, and sure enough, he's leaning against the wall with his hands in his pocket, chilling with my crew. And I'm like, I said, look, man, why are you here? Why are you here? You're like, you wanted me out the house. I'm gone. I'm done. Because his house was here, and the house I was staying at was kind of like up the street. So you could like look out the door, and you could see like right into my parents' living room and all that. So I'm like, listen, go down there. That's where your family's at. You wanted me gone. I'm out the house. I'm doing my own thing now. Just leave me alone. I'm cool. And in the midst of all of this, he just kind of looks at me and says, hey, man, you just need to go away, man. You don't know what you're doing. I said, no, man, fuck you. You need to go. He spits on me. I mean, he big spit everywhere. And I fucking lost it. And at that point, I just, for all them years of abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, from him stalking me, my job, my friends' houses, it all came out. And I'm just unloading on this guy, just beating the shit out of him at this point. Then all of a sudden I felt tugging on my shirt. I felt kind of simultaneously, I felt a tugging, and I'm thinking to myself, why isn't he hitting me back? And he's pulling out this long knife out of me, like about this big. It's got ridges on it and everything. And I was just like, I mean, he stuck it all the way in, like to the base of the handle. And I said, I can't believe you killed me. You finally did it. You finally killed me. And I'm kind of looking around in shock. He pushes me down, and he flips the handle of the knife over like this. He tried to put it in my throat, like that. The point is all, and I'm trying to hold this dude off, like you got, like I'm and then he tries, and that's not working. So then he flips it, and then he's trying to cut my throat. So I'm still holding his hand, and he's trying to do that, and then he flips it again, and then he then he leans into it, and because he's really trying to just stick it. And I mean, to me, it seemed like hours. I'm sure this all kind of took place within 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. I'm struggling with the knife. Now you may be thinking, hey, how come nobody, jumped in, helped out? Hey, that's just the hood I lived in, at the time. They were more interested in seeing the spectacle than actually doing anything to make a difference. So there's the answer to that. And so I finally met, and the interesting part was when this was happening, this is when we get back to that demonic entity again. His eyes were completely dilated. I knew my father for years. There wasn't a stitch of alcohol on his breath. There was no smell of marijuana, anything. This dude was just, it was almost as if he had no pupil, just black eyes. While he's doing this and he's looking at me. And then he kind of snaps out of it. People, some lady was yelling something, and he kind of snapped out of it. And then his eyes went back to normal. So I'm watching it because his face is like this close to mine. And then he takes the blade and my knee's up, he wipes the blade on my knee, sticking up. He was like, I told you that I wasn't a joke. And he starts to laugh. So at this point, my adrenaline starts kicking in. And I'm like, you know what? No. I stand up. I grabbed a 2x4 out of it. There was like a 2x4, some kind of large stick or something out the trash can. And I said, hold up, motherfucker, we not done yet. Now it's my turn. I got a weapon too. And right as I'm ready to go at this fucking guy, all of a sudden this blood just starts shooting out. I fall backwards. I'm on the ground. So all of a sudden, the weird thing about this is that this unbelievable sense of love came over me. I mean, it was this unbelievable embrace of love. And simultaneously with this it was this sense of master clarity, complete clarity. Like, I knew I was here, why I was here. I knew I was here before. Up to that point, I didn't believe in reincarnation either. I mean, Catholic teachings was all I knew. But like reincarnation, I knew I was here before. I knew it was like I was here for a mission, to fulfill some type of purpose. Everything became crystal clear. I knew who I was. I knew that what he did was a mistake because he failed some type of thing he was supposed to. I mean, it sounds crazy, sounds nutty, but it was very crystal clear at that point. And this unbelievably overwhelming feeling of love and compassion and empathy for him, not so much for me. And there was also this sense of relief. Like, I was glad that it was going to be over, because it was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. So it was like I kind of knew that this thing was going to go down the way that it happened. It was like it was all pre-planned, preconceived, that type of thing. And it was clear. I mean, it was very, very clear. And, then of course, when I kind of lifted my head up, I saw him walking to the house. There was no one home. Because that's the other theme here. Every time my dad flipped out, did some crazy shit, nobody was ever home. He kind of waited till no one was home to really do it. There was that entity I saw in the basement. That's the second time I had seen it up to that point. I felt it before, didn't see it. But I saw it pretty much at the window as he was walking to the door. And remember, this was this sense of clarity that I had, a sense of empathy and love. And I knew beyond any doubt that was a demon. And my father was under its influence, and I just felt bad for him. That he couldn't deal with it, that my family was going to be in jeopardy, but there was nothing that I could do about it at this point. So I was at peace with that. So I thought it was just a wrap. I thought that was it. My girlfriend at the time comes running down the street and the whole nine. So then the cops come, so I'm going to fast forward here a bit. So I come to in the hospital. I got like a heart tube in my chest. I found out that I almost died like 3 times on the operating table. So you got a really strong, very strong young man, the whole nine. I got these things on my legs, stop blood clots, these machine pumping on my legs, heart tube, hooked up to all these IVs and shit, and I'm just like I'm in mass. Well, I could tell I was messed up. They cut me open from here all the way down to a little bit past my belly button, so I got staples in my stomach, basically holding me together. And I remember that right there at that point, is that when I made a Faustian bargain with myself, is that number one. So this is when we kick it to the fourth gear with this conversation, because I'm going to wrap this up in like another 15 minutes or so. It's going to get kind of long here. Is that number one, I'm going to die in this neighborhood if I don't get out of here. Or I'm going to end up killing him, because I'm going to have to. And as fucked up as it is, he was still my pop. And I still, and I knew that it wasn't all him. But I knew I was going to have to put him down, or he was going to take me out. And nobody was going to do a fucking thing about it. That's number one. Number two, I said, I gotta drop out. I gotta make money, because nobody can. I need money to survive. I gotta walk away from this opportunity. And it hurt me like hell to do it, but I did it. And so, you know, when I got out, they kept me there, you know, also, when I got back around the neighborhood, you know, so we went to trial and all that kind of shit. He got a smack on the wrist because it was a domestic dispute, because, again, we're talking about back in the day. This was like in the 90s by this point. Law worked a little bit different, a lot different than it does now. Again, my past got brought up about when I was younger and cutting the guy in the face and the thing, you know, so there's that whole past coming back, bite me in the ass again. And the tale that he spun was like, oh, he was just minding his own business and he wasn't doing anything and all of this stuff. And by this time, after the stabbing, a lot of people kind of jumped off his bandwagon, was like, yo, he's crazy. Especially when they heard my side of the story about what happened and the other witnesses that were there. And it just didn't add up. But he got a good lawyer. He paid good. I had a public, you know, I had it's at City Hall. I'm a punk kid. So I guess whoever they, you know, wanted to put on the case at the time, my dad got a high-powered attorney, so he got off. And so everything was cool. I was like, okay, I'm getting myself together. So also during this time, what began to happen when I got out the hospital, came back, I was able to feel the energy of people at that point. The heaviness of the people I was dealing with, particularly the cat I was staying with, was kind of like really heavy. And also I was able to see what's called auras of people at that point. I mean, it was kind of wild. So I'm feeling this. I'm feeling the negative energies of people, and I'm also able to see these different color auras and energy around people when I got out of there. So I just kind of thought it was like a side effect of some kind of medication or something they put in my system or something. But I kind of didn't think it was, because I remember that whole demonic thing or whatever. Again, with my dad and his pupils and all of that. And so I kind of was rationalizing what was going on. Fast forward here a little bit more. So he was just out and about flaunting, you know, laughing about it, had a good chuckle about it. Basically living off the reputation, the fact, oh, he's crazy, man. He almost killed his son. And he's like really flaunting it, living in the fame of doing, you know, the neighborhood I lived in, again, bunch of cretins and lowlifes and shit. And basically, it was about a month later, and I just said, you know what? He's pretty much just kind of like teasing me, like, look at the little pussy boy. And so, at that point, I decided I want to kill this guy. I want to kill him. So, I had this big elaborate plan. I was gonna do him just like he did me. I had this big ass long Rambo knife, and I kind of start clocking when he went through the buses he took to get to work and so forth on the subway. I finally decided I'm gonna get his ass in Logan. I'm gonna get his ass in Logan Station, which is I'm gonna gut him like he gutted me. And so the day came. I'm ready. I didn't take I timed him, so I walked. I got up really early, and I timed when he got off the bus. As soon as he got off the bus, he started walking to the subway. I started trailing him in the subway. So I'm ready. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. You know, I'm just sick of this shit. The world would be a better place at this point. And so, right? I mean, I could feel it. I was, you know, when you get yourself really hyped up, I'm like, I'm right about to do it. And all of a sudden, I hear no. And so I kind of like ignored it. And I getting closer to him. And I'm hearing no. Louder this time. So I'm kind of looking around and shit. I'm like, whatever. Because I got the bloodlust. I'm biting my tongue. I can feel myself. I can physically see myself sticking a knife in, ripping it up his gut. Like I'm really amped to do it. I'm like, fuck it. I'm putting this motherfucker down. And right then it was like, stop, no. And this time, it was Sister Mary, her voice. It was, and it, you know, when sometimes someone yells at you, the vibration of their voice is on your face. And I felt it. And again, I instantly stopped. I instantly just stopped. I mean, I was literally half a second from just ending his life. And I just stopped. It was all of a sudden, it was just like being snapped back from whatever funk I was in. And I just stopped. I put the knife away, and I turned around, and I kind of believe he kind of saw me. I looked back, and he did know that I had followed him in there. And he smirked. He smirked. But at that point, it became crystal clear to me. I'm wrapping things up now, guys. It became crystal clear to me. Number one, at this point, there was something massively more going on here than I understood. I mean, I felt that person's voice in my face, in my ear, in my face, yelling in my face to stop. That was clear. Clear. I was on no medications. It was clear as day. That's number one. Number two, I said, yo, this whole, you know, seeing the whole auras, I mean, in time that kind of subsided, and I kind of got that under control, and the whole energy aspect. But I was just like, you know what? Okay. I got to get the fuck up out of here. That's the second. I got to get up out of here. I hustled for about 5 months. I completely avoided my family altogether. I hustled, got my money together. It took me about 5 months. I saved up about $3,500, and I got the fuck out of there. At the same time I was doing that, what I would do is in the morning time I would go out and I would study the GED test. I studied it for about 2 weeks. Just kind of brush up a bit. I took the test, got my GED, um, and yeah, got my GED, got my $3,400 together. And the place I would go to called Fisher Park is a place you go to. You wipe, like, there was like always crack vials and paraphernalia, beer, but I would wipe that shit off in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. I go out there with my flashlight and I'm studying this book, watching my back at the same time. And then, being after about 10 o'clock, get out there, start hustling, make my dollars, and then the next day, I was working, I was doing this like 7 days a week, to get my money, to get the hell up out of there. And finally, I end up leaving the neighborhood, moving out of there. And, just to wrap things up here, real quick, um, I went to the infantry, the Army, went to Temple University, um, majored in business, got my accounting degree, worked for top four uh, for a little bit, started my own company, um, my organic food company for a little bit. Jeff Bezos bought Whole Foods. I knew that was going to end well for a lot of regional people, so I sold my company. So pretty much a self-made person. So the reason why I do what I do is the way I do it is because of this. Um, oh, before I go there, um, the entity followed me. It wasn't and that I had to. That's where I really kind of got into the whole esoteric aspect of what was going on. My aunt being family lineage of witches and things of that nature. So I started like studying up on rituals, learning mantras, learning things to protect myself, protection spells, things of that nature. Really getting deep into it. Learning how to protect myself. I try to get help from people various times, but a lot of times people were just full of shit or really didn't know what they were talking about. So that didn't work out too well. Um, so I pretty much kind of, you know, um, learn how to protect myself. And so the reason I do it the way I do it is because I got to be hardcore because we all didn't come to this path by love and light. Some of us come from very dark beginnings, and if I'm a young man and I'm trying to talk to somebody, the way that when I do tarot or when I do a protection spell for someone or something like that, it's like it's hardcore because that's the only goddamn way that I know. That's the only way I know is how to be straight, directed to the point. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking anybody else or some people on YouTube give readings, but they don't. They do readings on YouTube. They don't get personal readings. I don't know what that's all about. Like I got this gift. I've used it at various times to help other people because of my personal situations. And I feel like I got a calling to do so. I've avoided it for a long time, but I kind of jumped back into it because I felt like things are getting kind of crazy out here. Um, and a lot of times, at least my situation, and I know there's a lot of people out there that got the exactly similar situation as I had, where you got this evil shit happening, and there's kind of like it could be kind of like looked upon as this person's just an evil fucked up person, or it's a complete demonic possession where things are floating around the room and stuff like that. Sometimes it's a little bit of both, and that was my situation. And so um and I'm one of the most down to earth cats that I know. And I'm hardcore as shit, you know what I mean? Because some of the things that I've seen that I've been through, um, it's like, look, I want to get people hit them. When you talk about love, everybody wants love and everybody wants to be loved. And the way Sister Mary was able to get through to me when she showed me that she gave a shit about me, she really fucking cared. That's what got me. And so that's why I do it the way I do it, hardcore. That's the way I've done everything in my whole. I chose to go into the infantry because and I chose accounting because that's like one of the most hardest, other than engineering, things in college, because I want to deal with things raw, hardcore. That's just who I am. That's just how I see things. Rather, what I've done to kind of like to help me through a lot of these things. I do Muay Thai, which is kickboxing. Um, I do a lot of meditation. I do some painting, as you guys can see. I do painting, things like that. So I'm speaking from a position of I know what I'm talking about because I've been through it. There's a whole lot more, whole lot more that happened. A lot of stuff I kind of like took out for purposes of time. Um, like little things here and like big things here and there, but they just weren't. They weren't relevant. I'm sure you can kind of guess what I'm talking about. And then also, it's like I said, when my dad passed away about 5 years ago, that's when the thing pretty much lost its power. One more thing, recapping here, I did go back to the house about 7 years ago, because I had hooked up with this guy. I was funding his project. He was a documentary filmmaker, and I was doing documentaries with him. So I was like, you know what? Let's. I got a story. I got a story. I didn't tell her. He knew some of my background, but not all of it. And we went back into the neighborhood where the house was at. Now, the house situation, it was interesting because the neighbor was still there, and she recognized me. She said, "Oh, is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Oh my God, gave me a hug. Oh my God, I always wonder what happened to you because for all intents and purposes, I kind of just disappeared. Nobody ever saw me again. Um, the fact of the matter here is, he said, after he told me the story about what had happened with my dad with the house, and basically after my mom left him, it basically just became a drug house. And after that, they found like a dog chained up down there that was like eating alive or some shit. It was in that particular room where all that evil was coming from. Um, and then after that, somebody bought the property and it was gutted, refurbished, but no one could live in that house longer than a year. And everybody that would move in there would start off like they would be a loving couple. They moved there. He told me three distinct stories. One couple moved there, and they were a loving couple. The girl ended up leaving because the boyfriend ended up beating her up. He said, that happens. Okay. Family moved in there, and the husband ended up stabbing the wife. She goes, "Oh wow, that's interesting." Well, they say that's a coincidence. Then there was another couple that moved in after that, and then the next thing, that person was left there by themselves, the guy, and then the mother took the children and moved out and left them there. He was like a real mean, miserly type of individual. There's something in that house. Always has been. I don't think it's as strong as it was when I was there, because like I said, it followed me for a great many years, and I kind of had to learn different things to deal with it. Every time I felt myself slipping, that's when it made its presence known, where I would actually see it, and I kind of dealt with it. But I finally just dealt with it. It was powerless for a very, very long time, and then when my dad died, then it just went along with him. So, there you have it, folks. That's about 25% of my story. There's a whole lot more, but for purposes of time, I'm not gonna, maybe I'll write a book or something like that, or maybe I'll do a part 2 to this or something. But there you go. The hard, raw situation. But needless to say, I'm here. I'm Adonis. Thank you guys so much for watching. And you guys send me some questions. Maybe I can answer a couple of those questions, things I didn't answer in this long diatribe here. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.